are dividing fractions, the first thing that we have to consider is to identify which is your dividend and which is your divisor. So for instance, you have 1/2 divided by 3/5. So your 1/2 is your dividend and 3/5 is your divisor. So the fraction after the division symbol will be your divisor. And the first fraction, the fraction that you're supposed to divide, is your dividend. So how do we divide fractions? First thing that you have to do, you identify which one is your dividend and your divisor. Second, you copy the dividend, change the division symbol to multiplication, or change the operation division to multiplication, and then get the reciprocal of the divisor. So our technique is we just simply interchange the numerator and the denominator. So if you have 3/5, its reciprocal is 5/3 or 5/3. So again, copy the dividend, change the division operation into multiplication, and then get the reciprocal of the divisor. So you will have 5/3 or 5/3. And then what you will do, you will proceed to the steps or procedures on how to multiply fractions. So when we are multiplying fractions, what we do, we multiply the numerators. So 1 times 5, and then we multiply the denominator. So you have 2 times 3. So 1 times 5 is just 5, and 2 times 3 is 6. If you can still simplify the final answer, you simplify it. You reduce it to its lowest term. So another example, for instance, you have 1/2 divided by 2/8. So again, what you do, copy the dividend, change the division operation into multiplication, and then get the reciprocal of the divisor. So you have 8/2. Proceed to the rules of multiplication. So you have 1 times 8 is just 8, and 2 times 2 is 4. Notice that 8/4 can still be reduced to lowest term, and its lowest term is 2/1, which is just 2. So our final answer is 2. Our third example will be 5/7 divided by 21/35. So again, copy the dividend, change the division operation into multiplication, and then get the reciprocal of your divisor. So what you can do, you can just simply multiply the fractions, or if you want, you may get first the prime factorization of the numerators and the denominators, and then you do divide out. So it's up to you. If we will do the prime factorization, 5 is already a prime number, so you may just write it as 1 times 5, and then 35 can still be written as 5 times 7. And then all over, 7 is just a prime number, so you have 1 times 7, and then for 21, you can write it as 3 times 7. So when we're doing divide out, we're just dividing common factors. So the first thing that we can have, 7 divided by 7 is just 1, and I think there's none anymore. So our final answer will be 1 times 5 times 5 is 25, over 1 times 7 times 3 is 21. So our final answer is 25/21. If you decided to multiply it first and then get the lowest term, possible solution will be 5 times 35. You have 175 all over 147. And then both of them have a GCF of 7. So you may just divide the numerator by 7 and then divide the denominator by 7. So what we will have is 175 divided by 7 is just 25, and 147 divided by 7 is 21. So you come up with the same answer. Okay, let's have our fourth example. 5 halves divided by 4 over 20. So again, you copy your dividend, change the division operation to multiplication, and then get the reciprocal of your divisor, which is 20 over 4. One way of solving this one, you can start with the prime factorization of the numerators and the denominators, and then you apply divide out. So 5 is already a prime number, so you can just write it as 1 multiplied to itself. And then the prime factorization of 20, we have 2 times 2 times 5. And then for the denominator, 2 is already a prime number, so you have 1 multiplied to 2. And 4, we can rewrite it as 2 times 2. And then we apply divide out. So 2 divided by 2 is just 1. 2 divided by 2 is also 1. So the remaining factors for the numerator, we will just multiply those factors. So you have 1 times 5 is 5, and times 5 you have 25. And then for the denominator, you have 1 times 2 is just 2. Another way of solving this one is finding first the lowest term, or reducing 20 over 4 to its lowest term. So you have 5 over 2 multiplied to the lowest term of 20 over 4, which is just 5 over 1. So 5 times 5, you have 25 over 2. So you come up with the same answer. Another way is by multiplying directly the numerators and then the denominators. So you have 5 times 5 is 100. And then 2 times 4 is just 8. Then what we do, we look for their GCF. So the GCF of 100 and 8, you have 4. So divide the numerator by 4, divide the denominator by 4. So 100 divided by 4 is just 25. And 8 divided by 4 is 2. So notice that either you get the prime factorization, or you reduce first the 20 over 4 to its lowest term, or you multiply then reduce, you will just come up with the same answer. So when we are dividing fractions, again, what we do, we copy the dividend, change the operation from division to multiplication, and then for the divisor, you get its reciprocal. And then you proceed to the steps of multiplying fractions. And if you can still reduce the final answer to its lowest term, you have to.